In our last video, we got started and set up the project, and we set up the background images that were provided to us in the asset pack. In this video, we're going to look at adding the tile map for the platforms that the player is going to go ahead and stand on, run, and jump. If you have the project still open from last time, where you left off, great. If you don't have it, like I have it already open here, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So I'm going to go to Menu, Project, and I'm going to go to Close Project. And if I was to open up Construct on a different day, your project may be here in the recent project. This is a saved copy of your project here as a local save to the location. But if you don't have this, maybe you went to a new computer and it's not there. How do you find your file? Well, if you saved it to Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive, I can go up here to Open. I can go to Cloud. I can open from the cloud, and I'm going to locate the project that I opened up or I created last time, and I'm going to open that up. And there I have it. There's where I left off, was setting up the background in the last part of the tutorial. In this one, we're going to look at the tile map. That's where you're going to have all the blocks that the player can use to create this game. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on the layout somewhere in the margin, and I'm going to insert a new object, and I'm going to look down for the tile map object here. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Again, if you don't want to have a name, there's only going to be one tile map, so I can go ahead and leave it alone. But if you do, or you had a name for this, that would be a good time to put the name there and then insert. And then I'm going to select somewhere up here. I'm going to select my canvas. Construct provides you with a default tile map to choose to use if you needed to, which is great. But we already have a tile map in the asset pack. So I'm going to go to that upper left hand corner, click on the folder, and I'm going to go back to the PNG folder, and I'm going to look and go back actually one more. We need to go in the tile sheet, and they've got two different types here, two different resolutions. One, I'm assuming is 64 by 64, and then one's probably 128 by 128. So I'm going to look at the tile sheet complete, and I'm going to open that up. And here we have all the tiles that we're going to work with here. Okay. If I didn't know what the size of these tiles were going to be, there's in this upper left-hand corner, there's the rectangle select tool. And if I click and I drag around the square right about there, I'm given some dimensions in this lower right hand corner, 64 by 64. So again, this is the correct tile sheet that I want to use for this tile map. And if you need to, you can go ahead and use the magnifying glass and you can zoom out to see what's available to you. And I'm going to go ahead and exit in the corner. And if you're missing your tile map, it's right on top of your layout. One thing with tile maps, it is good. You don't need to set the grid up, but if you would choose to, is that you can select somewhere in the margin and make sure that you're back on your layout. And I'm going to scroll down to where the grid is here again. I want to show the grid, so I'm going to use a checkbox. And again, those tiles were 64 by 64, whereas right now the default size of the grid is 32 by 32. I'm going to select the arrow, and I'm going to change this to 64 and 64, so that each square that I see on my grid will represent one square from the asset pack. Now, how do I find this tile map? Well, on the layout, this panel over here, you may have a tab at the very bottom, and when you select that and you go ahead and select your tile map object that's right here on your layout, it'll then show the graphics that you want to work with. But if I'm looking here, I'm getting this little black selection tool, and it's only given me a quarter of the actual size of the squares. That's because the tile map is set to 32 by 32 default. So how do we fix that? So I'm going to go ahead and select this arrow just to make sure that I'm not selecting any tiles on accident. And if I don't have the tile map selected here, maybe I'm on the layout, if I select my tile map again and I scroll all the way to the bottom, I'm given the properties of the tile map. Here I have the tile width and the tile height. I'm going to change this to 64 by 64. That way, each square now represents one square in my grid. I can go to the pencil, and then I can choose these kind of freely and start to place them and start to design my level itself. As an example, let's say I grab this brown square and I go ahead and click. You can do one at a time, click, 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 or you can click and drag, and that's going to give you multiple squares at a given time. Now, based on what's given to us in the assets, in the overview and in the guide, they use this red assets here with the brown bottom. Maybe you want to go with the green and yellow, or the dark blue and dark gray, or maybe the green and blue. By all means, choose a different color to go with, but based on what was given to us, I'm going to go with this color theme. And I've already put out some brown blocks here. I'm going to go ahead and use these up here to put a top on this. And then right here on the side, they don't tell you this in the tutorial, but if I had the player here, the player can actually go out on the left and leave the level, and then you would need to make sure that you programmed it with the event sheet to detect that the player has left the actual layout. In this case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to provide, and I'm going to use this brown block with the little dots, like sort of like a, not sure exactly what to call this, but I'm going to use this particular one here, and I'm going to put a couple of these here to prevent the player from leaving the actual level itself. Okay, and then I'm going to scroll back over to my design, and then I'm going to grab an end cap because it's got a rounded corner on them, and then I'm going to put some more here. Now, I can't paste a full tile down here. That's because I would need to extend the tile map one more full tile. In order for me to paint down at the bottom here, I need to extend this. And if I was to preview this for a moment, you can see this in the window, is that there's this spot down here that's missing. That's because the tile map needs to be a complete full square in order for me to paint that down there. And there's a couple of different accents, so I'm going to put a couple of these out here just to give it a little bit of characteristic of the design. And then maybe I want to put maybe a floating tower here. So I'm going to put a couple of blocks like that. Again, this design is up to you and how you want this to look. I'm going to go ahead and put a few more just to talk about a couple different things here, and then it's your chance to go ahead and build the design that you feel you want to create. They've got some floating platforms that I could have that the player can try to reach up to. But they also have some accent pieces here. In the overview, I didn't include these, but if I decide, hey, I want to use this and I want to paint this on my level, which is okay currently right now, but we'll look at a reason to have and understand that we need to make sure that we don't put those in conclusion somewhere else, because if the player is walking along, this will eventually become solid, and we need to look at how do we take this off, and we'll come back to that on a later video. So go ahead and take a few minutes, design your level, create wherever you want, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.